Welcome back to our YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that you chose to be with us once more. Thank you for being part of our show. In the midst of the disaster that has rocked our country, questions are being raised. You all know that a government is supposed to be able to coordinate disaster management affairs in such a way that before such calamities befall a country, they should warn and take early precautions. That is very important for a government. Apart from the warning, they should look at ways of averting if it is something that can be averted. Calamities such as drought, floods, and diseases are things that every government are aware can happen anytime. An outbreak sometimes is very difficult to predict or to control. But things to do with drought and floods can be predicted, and that is why we have a meteorological department, that is empowered to ensure that they give warning. They'll tell you it will be cold, so as you walk around, have some warm attire. They'll tell you it will be hot, so prepare. There will be floods and such kind of risk management factors. William Ruto has failed in all of this. But there is another part of it that not many people are talking about. Maybe because they are now used to it. Every government has got what we call the Disaster Management Fund. Something that I read very closely says that the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, together with the State Department for Special Programs, have been responsible for administering and coordinating disaster risk management activities in Kenya, including operating an early warning system. So it is in the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government. Basically, this fund is supposed to be held and managed at the Office of the President, because Ministry of Interior falls under the Office of the President. In the midst of what is happening, the government looks like it was caught unaware. The government seems not to have enough money or the funds to coordinate and help very quickly such situations. Begging the question, do we have this money? It should be there because it is budgeted for. The question is, was it budgeted for? Yes, it was. Was it available in the public coffers? Yes, it was. Is it available? We don't know. And this is something that I don't see much talks about it, and it seems someone knows where it is. Now, NTV did not want to spare anyone, and NTV raided William Ruto, asking hard questions about these funds, because it seems it has gone into people's pockets. Kindly listen to NTV reporter.
Tonight, we continue to grapple with the devastating impact of the floods. Many lives have been lost, homes submerged, livelihoods washed away, and many lives shattered. But a question that echoes is not just about nature's fury, but about accountability of resources. That is what our memo is addressing tonight. Billions of shillings are earmarked for flood and crisis mitigation every year. Yet, in many cases, the results are far from satisfactory. Innocent people bear the brunt of failure on mitigation or below par implementation. Where does this money and other resources actually go? In various instances, it disappears into a bureaucratic abyss with little to show in terms of tangible, beneficial outcomes. Where did all the money set aside for El Niño mitigation go? Did it get swallowed in the drainage, whose pipes lead to individual pockets? Is there satisfactory investment to show for the same? These questions demand answers, not just for transparency, but for the sake of the countless individuals whose lives are lost, disrupted, and destroyed when it rains and pours. Year after year, we witness the same cycle: promises of flood mitigation projects, budget allocations, and then, when the waters rise, the realization that the measures are inadequate. Let's face it, the current approach to flood and disaster management is failing, and some of its work is being washed away by the very floods, exposing more than wanting infrastructure and dangerous topography. It is commendable to see action on the part of the national government, county governments, non-governmental organisations, corporates and individuals alike in seeking to address the tragedy, even with plans to have more long-term strategies to avert future crises. That said, there must be transparency in how funds earmarked for flood mitigation are utilised. Every shilling must be accounted for, and the public has the right to know where their hard-earned money is being spent. Those responsible for overseeing flood mitigation projects cannot and should not escape scrutiny. It doesn't stop at the balance sheet. It extends to the decisions made or not made at both levels of government, from zoning regulations that allow construction in flood-prone areas to the maintenance of infrastructure crucial for flood control. Every choice has a consequence. And a key point in all this: there must be greater intent towards proactive measures rather than reactive ones. Instead of waiting for disasters to strike, it behoves the state to not only invest in long-term solutions such as infrastructure development, early warning systems and community resilience programs, but to actually follow them to the letter. Citizens have the right to participate in these processes and have the absolute right to demand solutions that prioritize their safety and well-being. In the face of climate change, the threat of floods is not going to be washed away. The time for excuses and empty promises must be firmly tucked into the painful pages of history. The people deserve the best and a greater guarantee to live. Anything less is a betrayal of trust and humanity, as well as a disservice to those who suffer the consequences of wanting actions or inactions. That is the memo.
So NTV did not spare State House. They are asking hard questions where this money is gone. You know, this reminds me of the days when William Ruto tried to intimidate the media and they wanted to shut down NTV, they wanted to shut down Citizen, KTN. Even recently, we were informed that the government had decided that government advertisements were not going to be channeled to the private media, both the print and audio. And it is because of the exposure that our media continues to undertake. Anytime there is a disaster in the country, the governments of the day would turn it into a scandal. I remember when we had the COVID pandemic, the majority leader in the National Assembly, Kimani Chungwa, kept on calling some people COVID billionaires. And in their assertion, they said that Raila Amolo Odinga and the team, or together with the team from Uhuru Kenyatta, squandered the money that was meant to cushion the COVID and that were meant to buy, I think, vaccines and all this. And he kept on singing about this. This time around, they are now in the government and they have been caught. And I would really want to hear what Kimani Chunga would say, because this money seems to be gone. We have a government that many people feel that our government and corruption are twin brothers. They are inseparable. You know, being corrupt is one thing, but being corrupt to an extent that you want to take away food that is meant for, relief food. We've had such cases where relief food is being taken away by politicians or people who are very influential. Money that is meant to cushion people for drought and floods like these are being taken away. And you see, this is the irony. If you look at the people who sometimes engage in corruption matters, they are already wealthy. It's so that they have this appetite of amassing more wealth at the expense of people who are very disparate. When you look at the people who are living in slums and the way they've been affected by the rains and the weather, and then you wonder, some of them go without food. They don't have a place to spend the night. They spend the night in the cold. And then someone goes away with the money that is meant for, it's sometimes it is very difficult even to understand what is wrong with our politicians. The Auditor General, I think, soon will tell us where this money has gone. But there is a body that I don't understand, the EACC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. They are full of threats. And I think this body should just be disbanded because they are part and parcel of state capture. They do nothing. Together with the DCI and the courts and all this, they keep on threatening. The other time we were being told that they know some people had no money, but now they put on very executive watches and attire and suits that are very executive. And apart from threats that they give, we've never seen them raid influential people in the government. People are very friendly to William Ruto. Now, why do we fund them? We would rather just normalize corruption, and we should not pretend that we have a body that is fighting corruption. They would look for some policemen who have taken some 50 shillings and there and pretend they will be parading them, but they're doing nothing at all. If it is true that someone misused this money, then it is very unfortunate, because surely this is not the kind of money that even you get your hands into. The effects of corruption, if you were to look at it carefully, you would realize that as you enjoy with a lot of money, someone is dying in a hospital because of cancer, because you took away the money that was supposed maybe to buy some machine or maintain or some medicine and facilities. William Ruto must answer that question. Where is this money? Was it swept away by the floods, like the NTV reporter puts it, and it followed a tunnel that got into people's pockets? Corruption, for us to stop corruption, it is not just a matter of talking, it is a matter of action. Because the more we talk, you can talk tough from morning to evening, but if you don't crack the whip, then there's nothing you do. And corruption can only stop if we declare a corruption-free country, zero tolerance. And it has to start from the top. Not starting from the top because we talk tough, because the president talks tough, because the deputy talks tough. No, they must live by an example. We can see what is happening. If I see most of these government ministers and most of these influential people winning their cases and the cases being dropped, then you cannot hoodwink me. Even if you speak tough on it, then I'll know that this is the way to go. But if William Ruto would wake up one day and some 3 people very close to him go to jail and it does not bother, he lets the law takes its own course, then people will know that, okay, things are tough here. We have normalized corruption, but we need to take a paradigm shift. Right now, we are facing a very difficult situation, but it seems someone has pocketed the money. And if you look at those people, they are very rich. Tuwe na huruma hata kidogo. Sometimes we only need to be human. Just that. Tuwe na utu. Just need, on humanitarian grounds, just say nitachukua pesa nyingine lakini si hii, wakati watu mafuriko yamefanya wengine wakahama kwao. You just need to say no. Even if you have to get your hands into some money, please wait for another, because this will be very, very painful. Look critically, and you'll realize that we have the effects of corruption are very devastating. Even if you take away CDF, someone's son or daughter fails to go to school, and that is how deteriorating their lives become, because there are people whose life only changed because of education. Corruption, land grabbing is part and parcel of this government, and they need to convince us. Otherwise, if they don't, we are still persuaded that the second name of the UDA government is corruption. I don't know whether it pains you when you hear such things, that there are people who have been rendered as IDPs in their own country. And yes, some influential people whom we have obtained with taxpayers' money, we maintain their offices, they drive guzzler cars, and they still have the audacity to get their hands in the money that is meant and set aside for this kind of operation. When William Ruto declared that he had prayed and he knew that there were not going to be large rains, he set the record. He opened the Pandora's box, and that meant that this money was going to be used because the president had declared that there were no El Nino. And I want to say kudos to the NTV reporter and to all the media stations that keep on exposing the rots in the government. It is high time that Kenyans also start asking these questions, because if we keep quiet, the trend will continue.